Okay, it's that time of year again when it's worth taking a look at some of the bargains that are out there from some of the main dealers and also from Hornby themselves. And of course, the other thing that we have to look forward to is the Hornby price increase that's soon to be upon us, which is due to put on an extra 10 to 12%, I think, on most of the products. So not a bad time to be looking out there, perhaps to see if you can get a good deal now before things start to go up. So I don't have an interest in any of the people I'm going to feature here or any of the products, apart from the fact that a lot of the products that I'll talk about I would have reviewed. So I'll mention it when I have actually reviewed them. And in some cases there'll be products I haven't reviewed but are attractive products and I've seen favourable reviews for them, or they're products that I would certainly be interested in myself. So I will mention that as well. So we'll go through a top 10 and then we'll have some additional entries after that, and all of the top 10 will feature models that I do have experience with, and then the ones out of that will be ones that I would be perhaps interested in or particularly good deals. And we'll also look at some other accessories and some buildings that are on offer as well, some structures that are out there at some pretty good prices at the moment. So let's get going. So first out, we're going to take a look at a bundle from Hornby. It's the Transfer for Wales bundle, which includes the Class 67. Now this is the older version of the Class 67 it's got an 8-pin DCC socket, and I've recently reviewed the newer version which has got a 21-pin socket. They're very alike, and in terms of running performance they're almost identical, so there isn't a lot to call between the two of them. And I think people probably like this particular livery, which is the more prevalent livery for Transport for Wales. Now it comes with 4 coaches and a driving trailer, and coming in at $274.99, which is the offer price from Hornby, and I assume you'll pick that up from your retailers as well. I think that's a pretty good deal. These coaches are being discounted at the moment. You'll typically pick out the coaches for maybe £25 or so. The DVT's discounted to about 50. If you take 150 off the 275, you're looking at a Locomotive for £125. So I think that's pretty good value for a new Class 67 from Hornby, and put a TXS decoder into this and you've got a nice train with sound. So a good bundle from Hornby, well worth taking a look at, and I'll put a link in the description to the link on Hornby's site, and also to the previous reviews I've done of the Class 67 and also of this coaches and the DVT as well. So if you didn't want to get that and you just wanted to get the Locomotive on its own, at the Model Centre have got it for $145 at the moment, reduced to that price. That's a pretty decent price. You might get it for even a little bit less. So it's really just a spark that this is being discounted at the moment. So if you see this Locomotive at maybe one of your local model shops and it's at a higher price, might be worth just saying to them, can they do the discounted price for you? And I think a lot of them probably would do. So there's just, if you just want to get the Locomotive on its own. So next up is a Class 105, and I do have an slightly older version of these. I actually like them particularly if you're modelling the kind of Era 7. I don't have it on the track very often because I don't tend to be modelling that era very much. This is a newer version with some enhanced lighting, and also it's got weathering, which I always like to see on a model, and it looks to be pretty decent weathering as well. And it's at a very good discount, coming in at £150. So I definitely think this is worth a look if you're modelling this era. And I think this is very decent, so well worth a look coming from Rails at this price, $150 for a good quality factory weathered, and it looks to be pretty decent factory weathering as well of this particular DMU. I think well worth taking a look. So the next one I have on the list here, I think is again some two items I have reviewed previously. I have reviewed the Bachmann Class 90, a different livery to this, but I have reviewed the 90, so again I'll put the link to that in the description. And also this Cargowaggon from Revolution Trains. I have one of these that I've used in a number of running sessions actually on the layout, and they've run very well for me. So again, I think this is a very decent discount. Now those Cargowagons were overpriced, to be honest, to start out with. They have been discounted since. But I think for getting 4 of those, which historically would have cost about £400 on its own, and these locomotives would have typically cost about $160, $170. I think this is a pretty good deal, and the Class 190 is a very good model, so we're checking out from Kernow, a nice package deal. These have been selling out actually, so it looks like there's only one of these left when I took the screenshot, so they may be gone, and I'm not surprised because this is a very good deal. Okay, next up we've got one of my favourite models is the HST from Hornby Class 43 in the East Coast Trains livery, and this is the newer version of the HST from Hornby. It's got the new 21-pin decoder and the lighting enhancements to go with that. And again, I do have a review of this on the channel that I did previously. I do like this particular model, and I think at $250, I think it's a very good price. The coaches are on offer from a lot of retailers at the moment, and you'll pick them up for a lot of them for £20, £25. So again, building out a decent rake with those isn't going to break the bank. The other one I wanted to show to you is from TMC. They've got a weathered version of this model with their own weathering. Again, it looks to be pretty decent weathering, but it is quite a bit more expensive. That's the problem. It's £70 more expensive. So that's probably not going to appeal to people unless they really want to get the weathering from TMC. Otherwise, I think stick with the Cargowaggon discounted version. So there's a few other HSTs on offer at the moment. The HST First Great Western one. Again, I would have reviewed this on the channel historically. I do have a full train in this livery. Probably be a bit more challenging to get the coaching stock for this now, or you might have to pay a little bit more for them. So that might be the only issue for you. But I think this is a good price. $250 for a HST, I think, is a decent price. It's the sort of price it should be at. And similarly, this Rail Adventure, I do have this model actually. I'm due to do a review of it. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I have been running it. So again, I think this is a good price, and you'll get a good wear with the Rail Adventure because it's used in different applications. Whereas, a lot of HSTs are kind of stuck to the livery that they're tied to, but the Rail Adventure one actually gives you a bit more flexibility. You can be running it with cargo wagons, for example. You could be running it for passenger traffic as well. So, that's how I'll actually show it in a running session. But $250, good price for that particular HST as well. And these are all from Cargowaggon. So moving on, an EFE Rail Class 35 Hymek. This is up for review, and I will have a running session of this out in hopefully the next few days. I've been running it, and I've been very happy with it, actually. It's a pretty basic model, and particularly the lighting features on it are pretty basic, but it's a very good running model, and I've been pleased with the running performance, and I think it looks pretty good as well. It does come weathered in the form that you see here, and it actually looks pretty good. So as I say, I will have a running session for this. I kind of will be recommending this. If you can get it at this sort of price, or even maybe a little bit less, you might be able to get a slightly less than this. But I think this is an okay price for it. It's an old model. It's based off an old Heljan design. But I think it's decent, and it's a very good runner. And I've been running it with the TXS decoder, and I'll show that in the running session. And it runs absolutely fine. The decoder actually controls it really well. Now, there isn't a sound profile for the 35, unfortunately, so you'll have to use another locomotive. I've been using the 37. I know people would kill me for that. The train looks really good and it runs really well. So hopefully you'll see that in the next few days, actually, that particular running session. So good model, good price. This is a Hornby Class 60. I've got about 4 of these in my fleet. They all run really well. I think this is a good price for a Class 60, 120. This is the new version that has the 21-pin decoder in it. It doesn't really have an awful lot of extras, so that's the main change. It'll obviously give you slightly more flexibility with the lighting, but that's about it. But these are nice runners. They've been a staple from Hornby for quite a few years. I know they're being overtaken now with the new models, and that's the reason this is discounted. Obviously, you're going to get some new models coming in from Acura Scale and Cavalex. So 120, it's probably what you'd expect to pay now for this, or maybe given those other new models that are going to be on the scene, and they will probably have more detail. They certainly will, and they'll have better lighting features than this. It all comes down to what you're willing to pay, and I think this is not a bad value at 120. So another Class 47. So I did do a review of, this is the new Bachmann Class 47. So this is it's got all the new features, and I did review one of these a while back in a slightly different livery. An excellent runner and very detailed models. Very satisfied with the model that I had. This is in a very attractive livery. It's one of my favorite liveries, and I think at this sort of price, 220, I think that's very decent. This is a sound equipped models now, so this has the sound built into it out of the box. So it's the new tooling, all the new features and lighting, and it's got sound. So I think for 220, that's a pretty decent price for this model. So back to an older model from Hornby, Class 56 Diesel. I have one of these in the Cullis Rail livery. I haven't used it on the channel. I didn't review it or anything like that. The Class 56 from Hornby has always been a good model, a good level of detail and a nice running model. Again, it's going to fall down in terms of some of the things like the lighting features, for example, are always going to be behind the others. And obviously we have Cavalex on the scene now with their particular models. But again, at this particular price level, 130 for this model, which is one of the liveries I would like, I think it's worth looking at. If you're interested in the era and this livery, then it might be worth considering. And these are decent models. They're one of the better models from Hornby, along with the Class 60 and the Class 67. So the next one is a Class 47 from Bachmann. And again, this is sound fitted. This is from the model center now, and it's got their deluxe weathering added to it. So this comes pretty rough out of the box. It's got its own weathering, factory weathering, the kind of paint peeling weathered look. I have one of these actually. Now this is the old version. I have the newer tooled version. I've got quite a few old of this generic of Bachmann 47s, and they're all excellent runners. And I like this particular livery, and there's an overlay of TMC weathering on top of the out-of-box weathering, which I think actually does really improve it. So you're getting that for $222. I know it's the old tooling, but you are getting the extra weathering, and you'd have to pay for that weathering unless you were able to do it yourself. I think this is actually worth considering, and again, this is a sound-fitted model with weathering out of the box. With Christmas approaching, it's always worth thinking about train sets for younger people. I think this is a really ideal train set. Obviously, a freight train is always pretty good fun as well. But I think this one at this particular price, these do get discounted from time to time. And I think even at their recommended retail price, they're reasonable value. But at this £128 level for what is a decent running train that does have headlights, it doesn't have taillights, but it does have headlights, and it is a decent runner. It's a kind of a railroad level. It's not the full HST, but you do get the dummy car in the rear. And as I say, the front car does have lighting, and it does run reasonably well. And again, you can put a TXS decoder into this thing and you've got sound. So it comes with one coach, but you can pick up some of these coaches right now at a discount as well. So if you look around, I think it's a very decent set. You get your oval of track, etc. with the siding. £130 as a starter set. It might be worth buying ahead of Christmas. Just recommending this one. So we move into some of my extra recommendations, and this is one I recommended last year as well. And it's a decent model, a Retooled Class 24 from Bachmann, selling at 190 with sound fitted. So very decent model. I have the earlier version of this from Bachmann, which has always been, again, a very good runner and a decent model, and I've always liked it. This one has always caught my eye, and I think that's a very reasonable price for a retooled model with, all the newer lighting features, etc., and detail for £190, including sound. And it's also available from Cargowaggon and Rails, so you've got choice here if you want to purchase it from somebody else, so that's no harm in that. So moving on, so the next one, which is a model I don't have experience with, but I think it's pretty decent, and it's the Class 33 from Heljan. Particularly when you're getting it down to prices like, £90 and £100 for this model, I think you're in a pretty good range for, what is a decent model. And again, if you can find a livery that you like, that's in the kind of price range. And so there's a few candidates here that I might be half interested in. So I think it's well worth a look at these prices. So do check them out. And both Rails and Cargowaggon have these. So do check both of them to see, can you get, maybe if you're interested in one of these, perhaps if you can get the livery you're looking for at the right price, check between the two of them. Now, a model from TMC that's at a kind of 50% discount. It's a 3-car DMU, Class 159 from Bachmann. I've seen some differing reviews on this one, but for a 3-car DMU like this, I think it's pretty decent at $220. So something to think about. I think it's a good price from TMC. They've got a few offers, and this is one of them, and they've got plenty of them in stock. So 3-car DMU, you could do worse. Next one is another DMU, actually, and this is one from, and I have one of these in the First Great Western livery. This one is the Class 150, and again, this particular model comes with sound fitted. So you're getting a 2-car DMU with sound for £230. I think that's pretty decent. These have been selling out since the price was reduced. So if again this is a livery that will work for you, I think the Class 150 is a decent model from Bachmann, And to get it pre-fitted with sound, I think that's a very decent price, 230. Next one on the list is a coach. So I've done a few reviews of the DCC controlled coaches from Bachmann, and this is one of them. No, I don't have this livery because I don't model the Scottish region. But I think if you do, I think this is a very decent offer, and you can get the open coach for £50 and the brake coach for 55. And that's nearly half price in both cases from the original. Now, the original selling price was crazy price, let's be honest. But I think these are DCC controlled coaches. So you can control the individual elements of lighting, like in the guards area, in the main passenger area. You can control those separately under DCC, and you can also change the brightness under DCC control. So as I say, I have reviewed these. I'm very pleased with the ones that I have, and if you're somebody who's modelling the Scottish region, then these are something you might want to look at. So these are available from Carnow at the moment. They seem to have a reasonable level in stock, so if you want to build up a rake, there's probably an opportunity to do that. Let's move on. So the Mark IV coaches in the LNER livery from Hornby, again, if you hadn't picked up all of the coaches you needed, there are numbers of these available from different vendors at kind of discounted prices. Now, some of them are still at a slightly higher price than this, but you will find a lot of them in the 20 to 25 range. I'm just giving you an example here from Rails. So well worth checking out if you didn't get a full rake initially and you might want to fill out your rake, then now might be a good time to get these at a reasonable cost compared to what they were when they were made first available. And the same applies to this Mark III and all of the Mark III East Coast coaches from Hornby. These are all the retooled versions. So these can take the Maglite feature, they've got facilities for those, and they do come with magnetic couplers out of the box. So they're very nice coaches. Again, I have reviewed these, and if you were getting the Locomotive pair for this, it's a great chance to pick these up for around the £20 mark. A lot of people are selling them at that price at the moment. So you should be able to build out a reasonable rake if you choose to invest. Now for a few buildings and structures, and these are just a few miscellaneous ones that I just want to, caught my eye, I guess. This one, the Bachmann Hampton Lodge with lighting. So this is actually got interior lighting. And dare I say it, I've even looked at this model as something I might buy as a Christmas decoration and add some snow to the roof or something like that. And it's got lighting built into it. So it might be a bit of an insult to it, but at this sort of price, it's very decent for what is a nice model, with kind of slightly extra detail with the little tower there that you wouldn't normally get, and with the lighting built in. So for £30, something definitely worth considering. Next one is a massive discount from the Model Centre, and it's this this country church that's been available for a while, a kind of a special edition. You can see it with the Z at the end of the code there. So you won't get it everywhere. It's not generally available from a lot of vendors, but I think at £40, this is something that retailed at £120 recommended retail price originally, and would have sold for maybe about £190 to £100 typically. And now you can get it for £40. So if you're in the market for a church, for your layout, you can do worse. I think this is very good value for a structure of this size. Like, this is physically a large structure, and it'll be actually quite heavy as a model, but £40, worth looking at. And a recent purchase I've made myself, actually, it's these toilet facilities. I think something that's very lacking on model layouts across the country, and very unhappy passengers. So I think you probably want to invest in them, and your passengers will be a lot happier to have this convenience available. Probably be citing these on your platforms, etc. So for £8, less than half price, they're very decent. I have them on the layout. You may have noticed one of them on one of my platforms, and if you've looked at any of my recent running sessions, you'll see one of them there. And I've invested in a second set. So, looked at that price, they're pretty cheap, I think. And the next one is like a very nice water tower. Now, it doesn't kind of fit in with me at the moment, but I think if you were modelling, say, the steam era, this is actually quite a decent water tower, decent size, and at a pretty decent price at £18. I think that's well worth it for a resin model like this, of this size and detail, so well worth a look. And now for a model that isn't maybe perhaps as detailed, etc., but it's just pretty cheap, is the Hornby Diesel Maintenance Depot. which was on my wish list 30 years ago, selling for £14. Now, there's not many left. They've been selling out actually at that price. That's pretty decent. It's less than half price. You mightn't have thought of one, but I think with a bit of weathering and a bit of augmentation, if I say that, this could look pretty decent on your layout. So £14. Or maybe it's something you might look at for a younger modeler. Again, Christmas coming, so it might be a purchase for that. And the last one is a footbridge. You always need a decent footbridge, and I think I like this one. It's very solid, concrete looking bridge from Hornby, and good quality. I've seen a similar one to these myself from Hornby, and they're decent. And again, it's £30. That's not bad for a footbridge of this level of quality. I would say in a resin design. So just something to look at. So that's it. That's my list. There were a number of other items, but I didn't want to overdo today's video. I'd certainly be interested in your feedback if you have purchased any of the items that I've called out today. How have they worked for you? It'd be great to share that in the comments. And also it'd be great to share if you have come across some other bargains that perhaps I haven't mentioned here. Again, it's just great to share them with some of the other people on the channel, and you never know, I might be interested in them myself. So please share those. If there are offers that you see, do share them in the comments, and we'll look to check them out. As I say, I'll have details and links to all of these, and where I've got reviews or historical reviews or running sessions with any of them, I'll stick those in as well, so you can just take a look and see what they look like on the layout or in a review. So best of luck with your purchases, and as I say, leave your feedback in the comments on any other deals that you've had experience with. It'd be interesting to read those and share those with other people. Okay, thanks for joining today's video. We'll talk to you again, hopefully see you on the next one, and in the meantime, take care and happy modelling.